What's up, everyone, and welcome to Sunday Night Live. My name is Gary, and I'm very excited to be drinking a lineup of beers from Beachwood Brewing. We got some new stuff, we got some of their flagship stuff, nice well-rounded look at the Beachwood portfolio. And man, if you're a craft beer drinker in Los Angeles, you know Beachwood Brewing is one of the best. They've been around for a while, and I don't know, have you ever had a bad beer from Beachwood? Just so damn good. Really excited to jump into this, and doing this on a Sunday, which is a little bit different. So maybe see some different faces in here. Weekend tasting, testing it out. Maybe Sundays will be the new night. I'm not so sure. Things are shaking up for me in my personal life in the upcoming weeks. And so, yeah, we're going to have to shift around these days, maybe take some breaks. I don't know. Figure it out for sure. But in the meantime, definitely have some great beers to drink on this Sunday evening. So glad to have you all with me, and please, as always, comment in, let me know, what are you drinking? What's in your glass? What are you cracking open? So yeah, we're drinking some Beachwood. If you have any Beachwood in your beer fridge, run right over, pick one out, crack one open. We're gonna kick things off with a beer that I haven't had. This is a newer release for them. I think this is the first time that this beer is in cans. This is Loma Prieta. The pronunciation, I might be getting that wrong, but this is a German style Pilsner, 5.3%. Lively floral hops and a fresh crackery malt abound in this classically inspired German style Pilsner. 5.3% ABV, 36 IBUs, 16 fluid ounces. Oh, all right. Nothing wrong with kicking off a tasting with a German style Pils. This is awesome. Naughty Pine, what's going on? Yeah, had to switch this to Sunday. Friday wasn't going to work out for me. And like I was just getting through, this might switch it up. You know, I might be switching up the days a lot in the coming weeks. So I'm just excited to be drinking beers, and especially these beers. Beachwood BBQ just joined. What's going on? Got the beers safe and sound, nice and cold. Gonna kick things off with this Pils. Please comment in, let me know what you're drinking. Glenn 33437 drinking that Founder's Harvest. And we are kicking things off with a Crispy Boy. Nice and clear, straw colored light gold. Nice fluffy white head right on top. Julianne stuck at the airport. That's a bummer. Hopefully there's a good bar or with some good beer at that airport, depending on which one you're at. Beachwood Brewing, what's going on? Very excited to crack into these beers. And yeah, you got a really nice nose on this. Got that kind of cracker malt sweetness, a little bit of floral, a little bit of spice from the hops. Just a slight tinge of kind of like spicy sulfur, not in an off-putting way at all, just a really nice kind of balance between everything here. Very refreshing nose. Gonna give it a whirl. Just super clean. Exactly what you want to expect for your first beer of the day. Man, that first sip of the day is just the best one, right? Pillow Man in the house, that's when you'll finish the whole can. Ernie Gunn loves the Pilsners. Yeah, man. And I haven't had this one from Beachwood before. I don't think this is a new beer for them, but I think this is new to cans. I could be wrong on that. Usually I do a bunch of research and try and look those facts up in advance. I did not have the time to do it this week. So I'm just going straight into the cans and just taking them at face value. And man, this is a really delicious beer. Nice bitterness on this beer. This has like kind of a bigger bitterness than I sometimes expect from a German style, but I'm here for it. I like that. That's what I'm all about. So I dig that a lot. Nice floral component. Just like, it's a really flavorful beer. It really is. Yeah, sometimes you can get a German style Pils that's like a little bit more subtle all the way around, maybe a little bit more balanced. Maybe that's more true to style. I really don't know. I haven't been to Germany, so I couldn't tell you. But this is something that if you're used to the more West Coast aggressive, in-your-face flavors of the beers that we're drinking here, this German style Pils from Beachwood is going to be up your alley, because all the flavors are really upfront and in your face and kind of like remind you that you're drinking a really delicious beer with awesome ingredients. What up, Del Dot? Gordon Vance in the house. S. Finn, what up, man? Pratis Nalgus. So yeah, kicking things off with this Pilsner, and I like Scream Face. Definitely good observation here. Drink that fast. I'm going for round number 2 because it was just that good. Great stuff. Delicious beer. Wow. Yeah, I could drink the whole can really, really quickly. Let me stop myself. I'm just gonna keep going on this, and I gotta keep going. I have 4 more beers here, and this is the only lager. So we're jumping straight into the IPAs. This is what Beachwood Brewery is known for. Yes, they have won countless medals and have brewed a bunch of variety of styles of beer really, really well. Yeah, I mean, just there's nothing that Beachwood doesn't do at the highest level. But if you did have to pick out something that they are really well known for, it is the West Coast IPA. And the next 3 beers fall straight within that category. So first up, we have a classic. This is a flagship of Beachwood. And if you live in Southern California, you have seen this can jumping out at you in the stores off the shelves. This is Amalgamator. This is one of the originals from Beachwood from back in the day. If you're a kind of OG craft beer fan like myself, you remember buying this in the 22-ounce bombers, but it's always had this really cool kind of like mosaic label because this is a beer that's brewed with, I think, yeah, there's the hop bill here. It's primarily mosaic. It also has Warrior, Columbus, and Amarillo. 7.1%. And it says on the can here, Amalgamator is a dynamic West Coast style India Pale Ale that's delightfully light in body and bursting with unique aromas and flavors. A massive dry hop charge of mosaic hops lays down an aromatic amalgam of passion fruit, blueberry, dank resin, and citrus notes. I mean, that's a mic drop right there. That is ridiculous. That is exactly what you want to hear when you're having a West Coast IPA described to you. So good. 70 IBUs, so you know it's going to be up front with that bitterness. Yeah, this is a beer that Beachwood brewed early on, and yeah, I think they're kind of like very forward in setting the West Coast IPA style for the LA area, and they've continued to keep this beer relevant, keep this beer fresh and in rotation. At bars when bars were pouring, or now as they're starting to open back up, bottle shops, grocery stores, and of course through their multiple locations. So yeah, this one is super duper fresh. Canned on April 5th. That was what day is it? The 11th? 10th? I don't even know what day it is. This is less than a week old. How about we say that? Maybe it's not. I don't know. Who knows what day it is? All right, let's crack it open, okay? That nose, so delish. Yeah, and I love that can design. It doesn't get much better than that. Pop says, I don't have any beer to drink. You're supposed to hook me up. I know, after you left, I totally realized that I forgot I had a whole case for you. Desperate Pedestrian Beachwood rocks. Julian's a magician. Agreed. Temecula Brew Co. in the house. What's going on? And Del Dot and Naughty Pine just having a nostalgic conversation about how old we are. Yes, we remember beer and bombers. R.I.P. All right, so on the appearance here, you have a really bright gold here, kind of medium gold, right where you want it to be. Not too dark, not too light. Got a nice kind of like soapy white head sitting right on top with some nice carbonation. You're getting a little bit of that nucleation off the bottom of this glass, which usually doesn't provide great nucleation. And on the nose, you have a really classic West Coast nose, very citrus forward. You get some of that like dark fruit, like that blueberry dankness, a little bit of dankness on that nose. And there's a little bit of sweetness here that reminds you that there's like a significant malt body that's here to back up that barrage of hops. And I think that there's a malt bill on here. American two-row and honey malt. So there you go. Nothing too light. So really kind of like a medium body on there to back up all that hop character. What up, Mega Man? He had that Beachwood earlier. Nice, man. Good stuff. All right, let's give this a whirl. Really, really nice. I mean, this is kind of got that medium body that you want on a West Coast IPA. Really full flavored, really kind of front to back palate experience. The bitterness is right where you want it to be. Super solid. I mean, it would definitely call this a bitter beer, but it's not like aggressively bitter and in your face and overly bitter and it's kind of scraping your palate. This bitterness is really in line with how big the hop flavors are. That citrus, that dankness, that kind of raspberry blueberry flavor that you're getting on it. And then also the malt, the body on this, the malt bill really gives you something to kind of back that up. I kept wanting to say chewy. It's not chewy, but there's something substantial there that keeps the beer drinking kind of like it's substantial on your palate. That's kind of the best way that I can describe it, is that it's not like lean and just washes away. Like, this is a substantial beer. You know, it's by no means like a red ale or, you know, Imperial Red where you have that like big sweet malt body, but you know, this doesn't have like big crystal malt presence, so it's not there, but it does have enough there to kind of back up all those hops and keep this drinking pretty big. So I wouldn't call this a chugger. Like, this isn't something that's going to go down super, super fast. This is something that you're going to work with a little bit. Its balance is all hell. You're going to enjoy it from start to end, but you're not going to chug this beer. Maybe you will, but I'm not. Let's see. Pello Man sipping on Citraholic from 10 Mile. Conrad drinking some Beachwood. Nice. Screamface says West Coast equals the best coast. I agree. Patrick Snelgus chilling at 14 Cannons. Mega Man says Beachwood is one of my top 10 breweries of all in the world. I feel like there are many people that would agree with that. Gordon Vance, like not having one potato chip. Yeah, exactly. Great beer and remarkably fresh. Remarkably fresh. And I mean, I just keep coming back to that like blueberry dankness, which is really, really present in this beer. Yeah, that's what I keep coming back to. And yeah, that like nice malt sweetness that balances everything out. So that one is Beachwood Amalgamator. Delicious beer. Look out for it, and look out for it fresh. If you can get this straight from the brewery within a couple weeks, consider yourself lucky. But this is a readily available beer, and they keep it in constant rotation, so it's never going to be out of date. So we're going to move on to West Coast IPA number 2, and I did an IPA tasting a few weeks back that was incredibly difficult because they were all big and just like, it was just difficult. It was a barrage on my palate. And so I'm hoping that this doesn't happen here where just like my palate just gets overrun with hops. But, you know, you got to do it. I'm not going to back down. So next up is Citraholic. This is another classic of Beachwood. I remember hunting this beer down when it first came into like very limited distro in the 22-ounce bombers back in the day. Yeah, I mean, just being in the San Fernando Valley, it's kind of where I live for most of my time here in the past 10 years. And yeah, not being able to get down to Long Beach too often. When I started seeing bombers come up to the valley, it was like just a really special occasion. I just remember like buying it for the first time. Super cool. And so now that you have it in cans, got that fresh new look, and you know exactly what flavor profile you're going to expect as you jump into this. So just reading off the can here, Citraholic, hopheads rejoice. Citraholic is a modern West Coast style IPA with a distinct tropical hop character. We dry hop Citraholic with an immense charge of citra hops, imparting heavy aromas of citrus and tropical fruits with melon and gooseberry accents. Malt bill is American two-row and honey malt, so same malt bill as Amalgamator. The hops here are Citra, Warrior, Columbus, and Simcoe. 7.1%, 70 IBUs. So I would kind of like, just based on how they're describing it and the ingredients, I would kind of like say that Amalgamator and Citraholic are kind of like, you know, siblings in a way, where they showcase one particular hop, but kind of leave the West Coast style recipe relatively intact across both of the beers. We shall see if that kind of actually plays through in the flavor. I don't know that for sure. I'm just kind of going off of what's on the can. Conrad's drinking Cloud Simulator. Nice. So that beer is not one that's going to be part of this tasting, but we did get a little preview that I was able to share with Conrad on my team, and that beer is coming out next week. So expect another video, not today. I'll drop it in a few days, going through that very special new release from Beachwood, new Hazy IPA. But yeah, waiting on that for tonight. Gordon saying having $1 million backpack, but I gotta go get some more West Coast back in my fridge. Okay, nice. $1 million. I don't know what $1 million backpack is. I'm thinking it might be monkish, but I'm not sure. Screamface, good brews. Art Darius, man, I remember 22-ounce bombers. Yeah, I know, right? Citra hops. Hayabusa lager was good. Agreed. Screamface calls out Hayabusa. I love that beer. That's a great, great beer. Cool. All right, let's jump into Citraholic. Another flagship, another beer that Beachwood was early in the game with. I think kind of set the tone for West Coast IPA, Citra forward West Coast IPA here in the LA area, and has continued to innovate and to lead the way with this beer, keeping it nice and fresh. Speaking of fresh, what's the date here? March 31st, so less than 2 weeks old. Gotta love it. We have a lighter color on this pour, slightly lighter. Not much lighter, but slightly lighter. Glass isn't the cleanest, even though I just washed it right before this video. So yeah, we have a nice kind of medium gold here. Fluffy white head, a little bit soapy, small bubbles. And nose kind of feels like a little bit more kind of citrus fresh. Yeah, that lemon's coming through, kind of like pine sol-y, but not artificial, not gross pine sol, but like what that kind of like that flavor association reminds me of. And while Amalgamator sweetness kind of came through on the nose, this beer actually not getting much of the sweetness, but let's give it a whirl and see what's up. And maybe I'm getting it a little on the nose. But like fresh lemon peel is a big one here. Grapefruit peel as well. Ooh. Wow. Yeah. So definitely a different beer from Amalgamator. Less sweetness on this beer. Conrad really nails it. Pine resin, citrus notes. That's really what you're getting on this. The pininess, resin for sure. And then, yeah, just like bright lemon flesh, lemon peel, a little bit of grapefruit peel, really nice citrus presence, very fresh tasting. Some of these citrus beers can be a little bit artificial. This one feels very fresh and light. So this one drinks a little bit lighter than Amalgamator, a little less malt sweetness on this beer, a little leaner. Really nice beer. Yeah, fuck, that's really good. Citraholic, you guys already know. If you haven't had Citraholic, comment in, let us all know, and we will point you to the closest beer store, beer bar, whatever, to get Citraholic, because if you like modern West Coast IPA, you need to have this beer. Great stuff. 2-week young Citraholic. That's another beer you could totally chug. So while Amalgamator was a little bit bigger, this one's a little bit leaner, and this one will go down really quickly. So I'm really excited to jump into the next beer, actually, because it is a special variant that Beachwood puts out once a year. This is Citraholic Super Citrus. So you gotta like that can here. This is a fresh take on their Citraholic that includes natural grapefruit flavors. So take what we just had in Citraholic and just amp up the grapefruit by a million. Anyone who jumped in on our hot box, and I just see Mr. 2020 joined, who was in on the hot box, did get a can of this, and so you guys already know how massively grapefruit citrus this beer is. Let's see if there's anything different here. So basically another, it takes the same recipe. It's essentially the same beer, but with added grapefruit flavor. So Citra, Warrior, Columbus, and Simcoe, 7.1%, 70 IBUs. This is a citrus blasted version of our beloved Citraholic IPA. Aromas and flavors of fresh grapefruit zest abound in this West Coast style IPA. So let's give it a whirl. This one came out about a month ago. Yeah, this one came out basically the day that we were dropping the hot box. Like my boy Travis from Beachwood went down, picked some cans off the line, and then drove them over to Glendale for us so that we can get it in time to put into the box. So cheers to Travis. If you're watching this, what up? And we're gonna crack open Citraholic Super Citrus. So this is a beer that looks very similar to Citraholic, obviously. I have a different glass, so it's going to be hard to be like apples to apples comparison, but there's like, I think a little less clarity on this beer. There's a little bit of kind of a slight haze on it, and that may be due to those added grapefruit ingredients that kind of murked this up just a tad. It's still clear beer, but it has just like a little bit of kind of fuzziness to it. And wow, the grapefruit aromas. I forgot, I haven't had this beer in a month. And yeah, the grapefruit aromas are just blasting out of the glass. Fresh grapefruit. Mostly peel and pith. So a little bit more on that kind of bitter grapefruit side of things. Not as much kind of grapefruit flesh, which I personally gravitate a little more towards flesh. A little bit more that juicy grapefruit. This is a little bit more that like oily, bitter, peel and pith. So really big grapefruit presence on this beer. They don't lie. You see this label, super citrus with natural grapefruit flavors, and this is just coming through in such a massive way. Wow. And yeah, and that comes through perfectly on the taste, and this is really nice. Oh, Gordon Vance, gotta run. Cheers, brother. It says, keep it up. Every time I try new beer, I hear your voice explaining it to me. That's nice, man. Thank you very much. It was good to see you last month. Thanks for tuning in. Michael Sheehan says, Greyhound was first grapefruit IPA. BL Greyhound. I think you're referring to Bottle Logic. I'm not totally sure. But yeah, this is a excellent grapefruit IPA. And what's really cool is like as you're drinking this, you're kind of breathing in through your nose as you're taking the sip, and like that grapefruit aroma's coming in. And I didn't take biology or whatever, like the body, like where all the tubes go and connect, but I know that there's some connection in here in like your breathing system, and like it's like the aromas came up through the nose and like came through and then hit where I was experiencing the flavor of this beer for the first time, and it kind of like blasted all into one, like right in here. And then like as I breathed it out, it was coming out too. It was just like a really cool, just like immersive grapefruit experience. Retro nasal, thanks. I mean, there it goes, Andy Carter coming in clutch with the scientific terms. Thank you, sir. Yeah. This retro nasal experience is can't be beat. This is amazing. Yeah, this grapefruit's so good. I've had this beer a few times previous to this. This is the best experience that I've had with this beer. Like I've liked this beer the most. I don't know, maybe time of day, maybe it's the fact that I'm doing this Beachwood tasting and I had Citraholic right before it. I don't know what it is, but having this Citraholic Super Citrus right now is just like the best experience. I don't know, it's really cool, really cool. And this beer would make an incredible beer cocktail. I'm not a big beer cocktail guy. I don't make them. I don't really drink them that much. But I do appreciate kind of what they can bring to the drinking experience, especially in an on-site environment. So if there's like a cocktail bar or a bar that has like a cool spirit and beer program, I feel like this beer would be like a really cool, interesting ingredient for a beer cocktail. And before I jump into the final beer of the tasting, I'm gonna have just another sip of this super citrus. Beachwood says you are really cool. Thank you very much. Back at ya. I planned on sipping that slowly and savoring it, but then as it hit my lips, I was just like, this is going all the way back. Really, really good beer. So once again, Citraholic, super citrus from Beachwood. I think this is an annual release. I remember it coming out one time last year around the same time. I remember it was right after the pandemic shut down, and you guys sent out a can or a few cans for me back then, and now it's back this year. So I guess it's an annual release. I feel like it's somewhat limited. I don't think I saw this going around town in any big way. Maybe some bottle shops picked it up, but this isn't as big of a batch as Citraholic, the normal Citraholic. So definitely hit up Beachwood and try and get your hands on this if you haven't, because super special beer before it runs out and you have to wait till next year. Very cool. If you're a fan of their West Coast IPAs, especially if you're a fan of the regular Citraholic, you're gonna want to do yourself a favor and get the super citrus version. Just a very fun experience, especially side by side. I think that's the cool part of this tasting right now, is that I was able to have the two beers side by side for the first time. And if you ask me pick which one was your favorite, I'm out. I'm not gonna pick it, because they're both really, really great beers that have completely different experiences. And so I'm not going to pick one over the other. They're both like 1A and 1B for me. So I'm going to take a sip of water, refresh the palate a little bit before we head into the final beer of the tasting. Very good. So Mr. 2020 says, great California representation. Yes, Beachwood is, I mean, they're one of the best breweries. Like LA, Southern California. They really just represent California and Southern California really, really well in the national craft beer landscape. So many awards for so many different beers, and it's so cool going through these West Coast IPAs, but you just know that they execute beer so well across so many different styles. One beer that I really haven't had in a while that I really want to is Mocha Machine. I think it's a coffee porter, Mocha coffee porter. That one is amazing. Foam top, their cream ale or blonde ale type of thing. That one's a really good beer too. So just so much stuff. And I just remember going down to the brew pub once back in the day when things were normal, and they had some of these favorites on, and of course they would reset from time to time, and they'd have different seasonal beers on tap, but then they have a lot of one-off stuff that, I guess now that things are starting to open up, they're probably putting some of that kind of stuff back into kegs and pouring that stuff at the brew pub. But I just remember going down and having beers that like I'd never heard before. They were one-off small batch stuff that was just really nice at Beachwood, because at some breweries when you go and you see that, sure, you want to try some stuff, but you're gonna gravitate back to what you know is really, really good. Some of that stuff might be fun, maybe a little different, and once in a while they're really great. But at Beachwood, it was like you could find your new favorite beer off of one of those one-off limited beers that you'd never heard of at the brew pub in Long Beach. So it was just a really cool experience. I remember like having something and being like, holy shit, I don't even remember the name of it, and it would never come back again, or like, it would rarely come back, or it would turn into another beer or something like that. So I just think like what Beachwood's doing is really cool. But if you look at behind the scenes, the way things are set up, they have that Huntington Beach location like really cranking out a consistent level of some of these broader releases. And then they have that system in Long Beach that really allows them to experiment and to continue pushing the envelope and to continue doing things that keep them at the top of their game. And you got to appreciate that. So with that being said, please comment and let me know your favorite Beachwood experience. I definitely want to know that because Beachwood's one of my favorite breweries, and I feel like everyone's kind of got like a good Beachwood story. They've been around in LA for a really long time. Pello Man says, don't forget the blendery. Yes, how can you forget the blendery? Really great spot too, producing the most unique beers in Los Angeles. Like, so just on top of like all that stuff I just said about Beachwood Brewery in Long Beach, it's like you have Beachwood Blendery producing some of these like Belgian inspired wild ales that, really no one's doing. It's incredibly cool. And if you ever look up the story behind how they set up the blendery to like mimic things that are going on in Belgium, just all of the environmental things that they set up in that brewery to mimic temperature and yeast and airflow and all the different like really cool things that as a consumer you usually don't think about. I think that's a really cool behind the scenes aspect. There's an interview or like a paper somewhere that I read online that kind of went into the details of like how they did that, which was really, really neat. So final beer of the tasting, let's do this. And we're moving into Hazy IPA. This is 28 Haze Later. This is, I think becoming one of the like legit readily available hazy IPAs in Los Angeles. I've had this beer a number of times. I'm not a haze drinker. I haven't had this in probably a year or so, something like that. And I remember really, really liking it. I hear great things about this beer. You see it everywhere. So we're going to crack it open and we're going to taste it, of course. Before I do, this one was canned on March 16th. So just under a month old. No one ever corrected me on the date. So I'm assuming it's like April 10th or 11th. I guess I can't really check anywhere. I have nowhere to check. 11th, I got it. Okay, cool. It's on my iPad. All right, so 28 Haze Later Hazy IPA, survival of the haziest. 28 Haze Later is a juicy, hazy IPA with Mosaic, Citra, and Galaxy hops. Malt bill is Pearl and Flaked Oats. Hops are Mosaic, Citra, and Galaxy. 6.8%, 45 IBUs. Let's do it. All right, so on the appearance, you have that like nice murky, I guess kind of like, it's got this kind of like, what's the word that I'm going to use to describe this? I can't think of it. Anyways, murky. I guess I'll use murky. It's like a dark yellow. Nice nose. I like that nose. Yeah, so like a really juicy, fruity nose. You're getting like cantaloupe, melon, orange slices, like fresh, juicy orange. A little bit of berry fruit too. Kind of like mixed berry is what I'm kind of picking up. A little touch of raspberry, more strawberry than anything. So strawberry, raspberry, blueberry. Yeah, orange, melon. Really nice, fresh and fruity. Very good stuff. So Pello Man saying top West Coast breweries: Beachwood, Rip, ESG. What's ESG? I'm trying to think. Maybe ESB, El Segundo. Burning Daylight, 10 Mile. Nice. Yeah, all good, man. I need to get some Rip up here. I don't have any Rip in my life. Yeah, just delicious notes. Kind of got like it's kind of sweet. So there's a sweetness coming off of this, like a candy sweetness. Not over the top, not artificial, not turning me off in any way, but there is kind of like a fruity candy thing going on. Starburst, I'm getting like pink Starburst, yellow Starburst, orange Starburst if we're gonna bring candy into the game. And I haven't been doing this in a while, but I used to always go like candy on on my flavor profile descriptions. But yeah, I'm getting kind of that. Maybe a little Mamba chews. Mambas, those are good. All right, let's drink this beer. Yeah, this is a different experience on the palate than it is on the aroma. So first thing I'm noticing is like it's got a lighter body. So on the aroma, it's got like a murkiness to it that makes you think this is going to be a little bit thicker, a little bit more substantial in the body, a little creamier, and it drinks relatively light. I wouldn't put creaminess in this flavor profile whatsoever. Juicy. Like, I think really, like, if you're used to drinking beers here in Southern California, there is that kind of like differential between haze and juice. And this one kind of sits right in the middle. Like, this is a hazy IPA, but like on the mouthfeel, it's a little bit more like juicy. It's lighter, it's a little thinner, it's a little brighter. Yeah, there's no kind of like chewiness or creaminess on it. Not overloading the palate in any way. There's a touch of sweetness in the back end that brings you back to that, like I was saying, like this the pink starburst, like that strawberry starburst. But in the front and mid palate, it really is more like orange juice, like orange pineapple. There's a touch of there's a touch of bitterness on this as well, which actually balances out the sweet part of it really nicely. So yeah, kind of like that kind of like citrus bitterness that kind of can come in. So it's like juicy sweet citrus, but also a little bit of like juicy bitter citrus as well. It's really nice. I think this beer, and now I'm kind of remembering the last time I had it, and just remember thinking, like, in terms of hazy IPA and balance, this beer, I think, exemplifies that. It doesn't take you so hard into where we know hazy can go. So it keeps things really middle of the road. And, you know, middle of the road obviously can mean like not that great. But I think from a balance standpoint, middle of the road, from a hazy IPA standpoint, and personally from my palate, that's kind of where I want things to be. I don't want things to be so far hazy. It's kind of creamy chewiness and kind of heavy body. I want that to drink pretty light. I want it to drink with a little bit of sweetness, but I don't want it too sweet. I want it to be balanced with a little bit of bitterness as well. So where we're seeing kind of like haze and juice and bitter and sweet, fruit, and, you know, just like everything that's going on in this fruit and citrus. I really like where Beachwood's kind of like taking you with this beer. To me, this is like either one of those hazy IPAs you can bring to a party and you can bring to a gathering with a lot of people where you don't know if everyone's like a big haze fan, and you're gonna win a lot of people over with this beer. This is also a really good kind of like beginning of the session hazy IPA. You can start things off here, and then you can work things up to like more bigger, substantial hazy IPAs that kind of like blow out the sweetness in your palate a little bit more. You know, there's a time and place for stuff like that. Obviously, we did a monkish tasting last week that took us to those places. And I think that you wouldn't want to like put this in the middle of a session like that. You'd want to put this right at the very beginning, and really enjoy this for what it is, and then take it to where you need to go. But I think this has like a really like broad appeal. This is going to appeal to a lot of different beer drinkers. And I think this beer turns a lot of people into hazy IPA fans. That's just my guess, but I think that this is one that can take people that aren't truly like haze crazed and really fully enveloped in the style, where you still know you're drinking beer with this, but it's a really approachable way to get into haze, to get into beer, and to take things to a lot of different places that we know they can go. So 28 Haze Later. Thank you to Beachwood. Very delicious stuff. And with that, that is the final beer of the tasting. I am going to go through and pick out a favorite. And yeah, I could go a lot of different ways here. I am going to go right in the middle. Citraholic, the regular Citraholic. I felt like this really hit me in the right way right now for this tasting. But close behind it was the super citrus version. And then right alongside that is this new or newish German style Pilsner. So Loma Prieta, I think this is a limited release. I think this might be tap room only or straight from the brewery. So please look out for this one. This one is really, really good. Hopefully they keep it coming. Hopefully they bring it back in bigger ways. Yeah, Czech Saaz, Hallertau, Mittelfrau. You know, when I was drinking this, I was kind of like, I had Czech on the tip of my tongue, and I didn't want to be like, oh, this tastes more like a Czech style Pils than a German style Pils, because this is German style, but like it did have like that bigger aggressiveness in the hop profile, like a kind of like more like a Czech Pilsner. And when I see Czech Saaz on it, maybe that's the culprit. I don't know. So anyways, I'm going to definitely finish those 3 beers. But I encourage all you guys, check out Beachwood. They're brewing some great stuff. Thank you to the Beachwood team for sending beers over. And this is Sunday night, so enjoy your Sunday. Start the week off strong. And we'll see you next week, whether that's Friday, whether that's Sunday, whether that's another day. Who knows? Like I said in the beginning, the timing on this live stream is going to change a lot in the next couple months, as my personal life is going through a lot of changes as well. So thanks so much for tuning in, and we will see you next week. Cheers.